Hi, it's Nurse D, and I'm going to show you how to use your subcutaneous remodulin that your doctor prescribed for you. This is also known as Remunity. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to establish your subcutaneous site. You can use either the Cleo or you can use the Neria guard. I will show you both. I'm going to use this foam to represent your skin. You will take your alcohol and you will wipe in a circular motion away from the insertion site. To use your Cleo, you're going to twist apart the plastic piece from the purple piece, and you should see your needle inside there with a film covering your needle. Now you're going to take that film and you're going to place it directly flat on your skin, and once it's flat on your skin, you're going to push down until you hear a click. Once you hear the click, you remove your hand and you allow it to stay there. You wiggle it around to loosen it from your skin and you remove your Cleo. Be sure to make sure the edges around your site is secure. The Neria guard is very similar to the Cleo. However, the Neria guard comes with its own tubing. For this portion to insert your site, you're only going to use the red and clear portion. Once you choose where you want to do your site, you go ahead and wipe in a circular motion. To prepare your Neria, you have to remove two parts. There's a part at the top on the red you have to pinch and remove, and then there's a part underneath the bottom that you'll have to peel the paper off before you do your site. Neria is a triangle shape. Whatever direction you put your triangle shape, that's the direction your tubing will go. So please do pay attention to that. Once your site is prepared, you will place the Neria flat against your skin and you will press the red button and release. You can now remove the Neria guard and your site has been established. Now it's time to mix your Remodulin. You're going to make sure you prepare a clean work area. For this demonstration, I'm going to wipe my tray with alcohol wipes to make sure that it is clean. Now it's time to gather your clean supplies and put them on your tray. You will need your cassette, you will need tubing for Cleo, and you will need a 3cc syringe. Your Remodulin should always be infusing. So the first thing you're going to do is go to your remote. You're going to turn it on, press the soft keys to unlock it. If your doctor has you slowly increasing your dose, the first thing you're going to do is change the rate. Scroll down to change rate and press the soft key underneath the check. Use the up-down arrows to change it to the rate that's been prescribed to you. Confirm the rate by pressing the soft key underneath the check. Then press any soft key to go back to the main menu and go to change cassette. Use the soft key to select change cassette and it's going to tell you delivery must be stopped. Acknowledge that by pressing the soft key. You're going to turn the alarm off by acknowledging it and then press the soft key under the check. Your remote should now say disconnect from catheter and remove cassette from the pump. It is now safe to disconnect from your site and untwist the old cassette from the pump. You can throw away the old cassette and the tubing. Once you do that, your remote will say to replace the pump battery. Now you will take the old battery out and put a new charged battery in your Remodulin pump. Now you're going to go to all of your supplies that you have gathered and begin to open them. Don't forget to grab your vial of Remodulin. Be careful while opening all of your supplies to leave them in the plastic holders and use the plastic to hold your tubing and your syringe so your supplies don't go flying all over the place. And at this point, you want to go ahead and cover the open cap on your cassette with the open cap on your tubing. Being sure not to touch any of the open ends with your hand, just go ahead and connect them directly to each other and twist them to lock. Now you can take these two parts out of their plastic and just set them directly on your tray. Using the palm of your most dominant hand, you're going to put your hand on the cassette, push down and crunch it, and then you're going to roll it around. You're going to rotate, do that same movement again, push down, straight, flat in the center of your palm, and then you're going to use your other hand to make it stronger and roll around each edge. It's very important not to skip this step because if you do and you put your Remodulin in, it's going to come out and you're going to waste your medication. If you are using a new vial of Remodulin, go ahead and pop it open. If you're using an older vial, go ahead and wipe the top. Either way, you're going to use the alcohol to wipe the top of your Remodulin bottle. Then you're going to take your 3cc syringe and secure the needle by twisting it and pull the cap off with one hand. Pull back to your prescribed amount of Remodulin. For training purposes, I'm using about 2 mLs. Insert your needle into your vial, inject the air, Then invert your vial and remove the prescribed amount of Remodulin from the vial. If you did get air bubbles in your syringe, go ahead and use a household butter knife or whatever tool to tap the air bubbles out, because sometimes the air bubbles can take the space of your Remodulin, and you want to make sure you have the accurate amount of Remodulin. You can now remove your syringe from your Remodulin, and at your cassette, you will locate a little hole right in the U shape. When you see that hole, put your cassette on a flat surface, put your needle at a 90-degree angle that's straight up and down, and put it in that little center hole. It should be sitting directly up. You should get no resistance when you're doing this. If you get resistance, pull out and do it again. Once you have it securely in that hole, go ahead and push the syringe down until the cassette is filled. You should hear some light cracking. Once you have it all in, do not remove your thumb from the syringe, because the Remodulin will come back into the syringe. So once it's all in, use your 2 fingers to hold the cassette down and remove your syringe. Now it is time to prime your tubing. This just means we're going to remove all the air from the new tubing we connected. In order to do this, I want you to locate the arrow on the white portion of the cassette, and then you'll see a teardrop on the black portion of the cassette. You're going to move the arrow to the teardrop to do the priming, and you will stop once you get a drop in the tip of the needle. For visual purposes, I'm going to use a brown piece of cardboard so you can see the drop when it falls. And I'm going to use the remote to put on the tubing just to hold that end in place. So now I'm going to take the cassette and I'm going to twist the arrow to the teardrop. I'm going to be looking at the needle during this process so I can know when to rotate the cassette back to starting position, which ends the priming. Once I hold both sides securely and rotate the arrow to the teardrop, at this point I am looking at my needle to make sure when I see a drop. Once I see a drop come out of that needle, I'm going to take my cassette, rotate it back to starting point, and it will disconnect. Make sure that the amount of Remodulin that came out does not exceed the parameter of that circle end of your tubing. Now all the air is removed from your tubing and your cassette is ready to connect to your pump. And because Remodulin is so sticky, I usually take an alcohol wipe to wipe the end of the tubing just to make sure it doesn't stick to your site. Also, you want to check your cassette to make sure there's no leakage of the Remodulin in the cassette where you injected your Remodulin. You can also take a dry paper towel and just dab it very softly just to make sure it's not too wet and sticky, and because it can stick to your pump and cause a malfunction. Now go ahead and grab your Remodulin pump and we're going to connect it to the cassette that we just mixed. To properly connect your pump to your cassette, you're going to use the notch on your pump to connect it to the unlock key on your cassette, and you're going to twist it to the lock key on your cassette as demonstrated. This is the notch here, so you're going to align it with the unlock symbol on your cassette, and then you're going to twist it to the lock portion of the cassette. If this is done correctly, your remote should start beeping and performing a self-test, and once that self-test is complete, you will hear another beeps. Do not do anything until this self-test has completed fully and it is ready to connect. Now your remote should say insert catheter, attach tubing, and start delivery. Press the 3 soft keys to unlock it and go ahead and connect your tubing to your site. So go ahead and grab an alcohol wipe, clean your site really good, and connect your tubing. With the Cleo, you'll pinch both sides and you will pull away from the tubing to open it. Then you place it on your site and you push it to close. You will hear a snap to make sure that it is secure. And then you'll go back to your remote, press the check to go ahead and start your pump. And now your pump is delivering, and it's delivering at the rate, and you should have about 70 to 71 hours. With the Cleo tubing, you can also change the positioning of the direction of your tubing just by releasing and reapplying it in the direction that you want. Now, if you're using the Neria guard, you are going to do this the exact same way. The only difference is you don't have to squeeze the sides. You can just put the Neria guard in and you'll hear it snap, and you cannot reposition. Whatever position you put your site in, that's the direction your tubing is going to go. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video was helpful to you, and I'm wishing you the best of luck with your journey with pulmonary artery hypertension.